Hi everyone, Adam here from Trade with Precision and welcome to IC Markets Market Commentary. Let me start off here with the dollar index, which is still range bound and has been for over a year now. We're stuck roughly in the middle of the range, but actually looking a little bit bearish here. So I'm looking this week to see a break of this level of support and to see the dollar continue to weaken. But let's just take note that it is sitting at a level of support. If we move across and have a look at euro dollar, you can see that it is certainly looking bullish and is definitely intent on testing that 1.18 level for resistance. Now, ultimately, it would be great to see us break out of this. That dollar is a little bit weak at the moment. We can see it again if we have a look here at GBP, USD, cable. We can see that is also trending up nicely and pushing up and pushing up. So ideally, we would see some follow through of that this week. Another major that's quite strong at the moment is the Aussie dollar against the US dollar. It's broken through recent resistance and now has some free space up ahead. In other words, it has limited resistance. The path of least resistance is to the upside. So that is something that I would certainly expect it to do this coming week. It's also broken through some local resistance on the daily. Dollar yen, I would absolutely avoid for the time being. We do know the Bank of Japan intervened recently and they are defending this 160 area. And this defense could continue for months. So for the time being, my approach will be to avoid trading around this level and be very cautious trading any of the yen crosses. Having a look here at gold, it is starting to look more bullish. We're starting to break above the highs. We still have the 50, 20, and 10 moving average geometry looking bearish. We've got a level of support here. We did do a bit of a double bottom, which is traditionally a change of trend. So this week, what I'd like to see is testing this level of resistance. And ideally, if we can break up through that, looking at silver on the 4-hour time frame, we're forming a little bit of a wedge here, meaning we've got lower highs and higher lows, but I do think that there is some good potential to the upside. So I'm cautious with both gold and silver, leaning bullish, but waiting for further price action to provide clarification. Crude oil, ladies and gentlemen, back down, testing this local area of support around about that $95 level. If we go and have a look at it, if we zoom out and have a look at it on a weekly time frame and just zoom in here, you can see that there's just a mishmash for the last, what is that, 9, almost 10 candles. We've been going largely sideways. So what does that mean? There is no clear direction at this point in time. The moving average geometry points or hints that the flow of prices to the upside. So that means that it is closing higher. But at the same time, it is just incredibly volatile, and therefore traders would be wise to stay away from it. There is no clear fixed trend at this time. Moving on and having a look at the global indices, we can see here just for the last 4 weeks that the Dow is failing to close much higher, but it is still looking relatively bullish. We had a very nice retracement, touched on the 382 and the previous level of resistance, and bounced back up of that. So it's more bullish than bearish. Especially when we look here at the S&P 500, this is just a very aggressive move to the upside. We are very much overextended from essentially more a weekly perspective than anything else. The daily looking a little bit overextended, and any kind of a pullback for me would be a cautious buy opportunity. But we are very much overextended and we need to have a deeper correction. It's really when we get to the Nasdaq, when we get to the tech stocks, that we start to see more of the danger here, which is that we are starting to go parabolic. The problem with going parabolic is that when that correction comes, we tend to have a very strong correction. And so based off what I see here, a correction down towards 18,200 is a possibility, but that doesn't mean this week. That means when that correction finally comes, which could be September. It could be much later in the year. It could even be January next year. What I can say for certain is that we are starting to go parabolic and that we are overextended on the monthly and the weekly timeframes. And any kind of a pullback that we could get now would actually be better for the markets in the longer run. But what we're seeing now is very similar behavior to what I have seen with gold this year. And when that bubble burst, we had quite a big correction, and that is coming here if we don't cool off pretty soon. So I am bullish, but I'm very cautious because we are heavily overextended on the monthly, the weekly, and the daily. And the longer we go like this, the bigger that correction is going to be when it happens. So exercising caution there. The Russell 2000 looking really good, not looking as overextended on the daily, and on the weekly not looking too bad. But again, any kind of a pullback here for me would represent some decent buying opportunities. And actually it's forming a bullish candle as we are, as it is actually happening right now. and therefore this could be an actual move up this week. Moving away from the US, we are losing quite a bit of that direction on the FTSE. Overall, we've had a really good move on the non-US indices, and now we have got lower highs and higher lows. We're forming a little bit of a wedge, and you can see the 10 and 20 moving averages waiting to decide which way to go. So it's one of those where I think best for me to wait for a break above the high or low of last week to get some clues as to the direction in which way this wants to go. And then looking at Euro stocks, principally looking more bullish than bearish. I think it makes sense for me to see this take another run at this level of resistance. And then finally, let's have a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin has slowly but surely started to break out of this range. It is creeping higher. We've got a very nice little bullish setup that's happened over here. Nice little daily candle. And my expectation for now is that this is going to continue to head higher this week until it gets closer towards resistance at 84,300. I'm going to leave you with that. Trade cautiously and wisely. Protect your risk. Manage your trades carefully. Thank you very much.
Thank you.